world moves fast. Your workday? Even faster. Pitching products, drafting reports, analyzing data. Microsoft 365 Copilot is your AI assistant for work. Built into Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and other Microsoft 365 apps you use. Helping you quickly write, analyze, create, and summarize. So you can cut through clutter and clear a path to your best work. Learn more at Microsoft.com/M365 Copilot.
Hi, I'm Marcus Wyatt, skeleton athlete with Team GB. You're listening to Anything But Footy with the latest on the Olympics.
A fortnight to go, and the days are getting smaller and the numbers are getting bigger. 3,500 athletes from 93 countries will compete in Malaga Cortina Winter Olympics 2026, and we've more new names for Team GB. I'm John.
And I'm Michael. This is Anything But Footy, talking about the Olympic and the Paralympic Games all the time, not just once every 4 years. We've known the curling and we've known the skating team, as far as Team GB is concerned, for a while. So it's time for the GB sliding team to be announced now, with 14 days to go to the Games.
Hi, I'm Marcus Wyatt and I represent Great Britain as a skeleton athlete.
And we're delighted our exclusive audio diary star of the last few weeks, Adele Nicol, is on Team GB, and we'll hear from her once again in this episode.
Yeah, there was a huge confidence boost going into the Games. I think that was some of my best driving all season.
And we'll also round up the rest of the news from the Games.
Michael Weddock's Winter Wonders.
Including developments that there's still quite a bit of work to be done in Milan Cortina. And no word yet from the White House. What is President Trump going to be doing?
This is Anything But Footy. Stay in touch all the time with our socials and our latest blogs on our website, anythingbutfooty.com. We are moving on to Milan and looking ahead to LA.
Hi, I'm Eve Muirhead. I'm chef de mission. You're listening to Anything But Footy with the latest on the Winter Olympics.
Team GB chef de mission Eve Muirhead's had a busy week again. In fact, let's be honest, she's going to be really busy for the next few weeks, and there is more to come. So 14 so-called sliders, skeleton and bobsleigh athletes have been named today, with the Olympic Games of 2026 just days away. Great Britain and Northern Ireland have a great heritage in these events. A silver in the very first Games 100 years ago in Chamonix. A gold in 1964 in the two-man bob. 3 bronzes, one retrospectively from Sochi 2014. While in the skeleton, a permanent fixture since Salt Lake in 2002, Team GB has won a medal in the sport in every Games apart from 4 years ago. Amy Williams was an Olympic champion, you'll remember. Lizzie Arnold, the first double Olympic champion, and Don Parsons, the first man to win a medal for Britain in 2018, winning the bronze. Now, this year, Matt Weston and Marcus Wyatt are set to change that this year at their second Games. As we told you in the last episode, they won every World Cup between them this season, and no other nation has done that yet. And Michael has been catching up with Marcus.
Yeah, super excited. I think where I am kind of off the back of the last couple of years, performance-wise, medals, world champs medals. I feel like I'm at the peak of my career, and just that's the kind of position you want to go to the Olympics in. So I'm super excited and ready. Exciting to be thinking that this is the point I dreamed of coming to Olympics at, and it's kind of happening.
It feels to me like British skeleton's in really, really good shape at the minute, and Beijing was a bit of a bump in the road. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think with Beijing, kind of we took a bit of a gamble on technology, on the equipment, and in sport it doesn't always pay off. It happens, some years in F1 is a big comparison, and unfortunately it just happened at the wrong year. But that being said, off the back of that, we looked at everything. We looked at everything we were doing, kind of coaching, equipment, athletes, and we are better because of that. The kind of changes we made have allowed us to have the success off the back of that. So it kind of feels, it took a while, but me and Matt say we are kind of happy that Beijing happened, because without that, I don't think we would have made such drastic changes that have caused us to kind of be in this position now.
And just finally, what does it mean to be going back and going back, as we said right at the start? We are talking about you. You're going to be in all those newspaper articles as a medal hope, aren't you?
Yeah, it's really special, and yes, there's a bit of pressure that comes with that, but that's what I'm aiming for. Like people say, pressure is a privilege. I have worked my career to get to this point, to be going in with this kind of pressure and feeling like I can win a medal. So I'd be wrong to kind of shy away from it. I would also be wrong to kind of completely avoid it and say no, it's all going to be fine. There's that pressure there, but that's what I've been aiming for. So deal with it, and often it kind of makes you perform at your best.
There's debuts for Tabby Stoker, Amelia Coltman and Freya Tarbet in the women's skeleton, alongside Germany, the only nation to have 3 competitors in the women's Olympic competition. All 3 have bagged World Cup gold medals in this Olympic cycle. We'll hear from them in the days and weeks to come in the Games, so stay with us for that. And the mixed team making its debut at Milano Cortina will be decided after the individual races.
Hi, I'm Ashley Nelson and you're listening to Anything But Footy with the latest on the Winter Olympics.
A 6th and an 11th place finish in the 4-man and 2-man bob in Beijing 4 years ago sees Brad Hall and his team return for another Olympics. It's Hall's 3rd Olympic Games. He's the most successful World Cup bobsleigh pilot in British history with 30-odd World Cup medals. Taylor Lawrence, who was also in Beijing, will compete in both events with Brad. They're 6th overall in the 2-man standings and 4th overall in the 4-man. Greg Cackett, Leon Greenwood make up the foursome, with Alex Cartagena named as the travelling reserve. Adele Nicol, British champion shot putter, now Olympic bobslayer and friend of the Anything But Footy pod. She's been recording that exclusive audio diary for us. The travelling brake woman reserve in Beijing. She went there 4 years ago. She's now stepped up to be pilot for these games, joined by fellow athlete, Summer and Winter Games for Ashley Nelson for the 2 women bob. Ashley competed in the Summer Games of 2008 and 2020. Kai Placide is the travelling reserve. Now, 26-year-old Adele Nicol, who's from Welshpool, as you know, has been keeping us up to date with that audio diary for the past few weeks. And this is her latest dispatch.
So after the last voice note, I think I went from Winterberg to Summeritz. Summeritz was really good. I enjoy going to Summeritz every year. It's obviously a beautiful track. We felt like the pushing was really good in the monobob that week. It was showing that I was in the shape of my life, and it's the closest I've ever been in percentage wise to the best starter in the field, so that's really positive leading obviously into the Games now. I made a few driving errors at the top of the track, which just unfortunately on a 20 corner long track just costs you quite a lot by the time you get to the bottom. So it wasn't my best performance, but I felt like I learned a lot from it, and it's always difficult to be doing 2 training runs, 3 max into a race, and obviously I think I put a lot of expectation on myself, but I don't actually have a lot of runs accumulated on all of these tracks yet, just a handful, so I'm learning every time I go to another track. And then we decided that we were going to go to the last Europa Cup in Eagles, Innsbruck. Although I do enjoy driving Oldenburg in Germany, the problem is with the way the qualification system works, it goes off of however many World Cup races there are, and there's only 7 World Cup races, which means that everybody in the rankings, their points will reflect their best 7 results. So if you're in the World Cup and you're only doing the World Cup races, that means you have to take the points from each of the 7 races, whereas if you are competing across the North American Cup and the Europa Cup, it means you have the opportunity to potentially do like double the amount of races, and then drop all of the worst performances and all the worst points and just carry through your best ones. So this is where I think this year it's been very difficult. Like, a lot of nations have struggled to work with this type of system, because the World Cup is extremely competitive, fighting against the best in the world, and we did manage to do it. But what we did need to do is just go to the last Europa Cup, purely because when I started the season, obviously I was in the knee brace, and I hadn't been pushing hard or doing anything near to what my full training would be before I did the Cortina monobob race. So I had some really bad points from that race that I needed to get rid of, which means I needed 8 races in total, not 7. So yeah, we ended up going to the last Europa Cup purely to get the double races, because it was a double monobob race and a double 2-man race. to make sure that we were comfortably within the quota spot for the games. So I'm not sure how much you know about the quota spots, but essentially for competing in both two women and monobob, it goes off of a combined ranking across all of the circuits in the IBSF. So you have 3 nations that will get 3 sleds, 2 nations that will get 2 sleds, and then only 6 nations will get 1 sled. There's a lot of single nations this year, a lot, but split across the Europa Cup, the North America Cup, and then a few of us were on the World Cup. So, it was really difficult having to keep an eye across all the circuits to see where we were sitting at all times. That's why we ended up going to the last double race done, and thankfully it went very, very well. Obviously, first day was a gold in the monobob, silver in the monobob, then the next day, wider podium, 5th place in the 2-woman, and a bronze then to finish off the week in the 2-woman. So overall, we had a really great time, 4 races, 4 podiums, and it was a huge confidence boost going into the games. I think that was some of my best driving all season. I just had a bit of a deeper feeling and feedback with the driving, and I'm excited to take that through with me to Cortina now.
So another 14 names with 14 days to go added to the Team GB roster for Milano Cortina 2026. More still to come, so do keep checking back with us here at Anything But Footy. Some of the British bobsleigh athletes will be competing against familiar faces, even a British medal winner. Joel Fearon, who was one of the 4 men who won bronze in Sochi. That was a belated one that still irks me slightly, by the way, because I do think that put British bobsleigh back a few years, not getting that medal at the time. Now part of the 4-yearly famous Jamaican bobsleigh team, think Cool Runnings and all that. Amisha Moore, who competed with Adele for Team GB 4 years ago, now representing Jamaica in the monobob after getting Jamaican citizenship in December.
Well, there's always a lot of interest from the Jamaicans, obviously, as you say, from a Cool Runnings point of view and John Candy. But from a British point of view, Michael, it's a big moment. As I said, we've got good heritage, particularly in the skeleton. And as you say, the bobsleigh as well. We really missed out on Sochi. We won that medal, but there wasn't the prestige of winning it during the time the actual games was taking place.
No, and it affected everything. It affected funding at the time, because when they came back, I think 5th place originally, wasn't it? I think we had 2 crews subsequently kicked out. The program was kind of pulled apart a little bit. And I think had they come back with that bronze medal, it's never a guarantee. You remember badminton won a medal in Rio, and we all thought, well, that's it. That sets badminton up, doesn't it, from a funding point of view for the next cycle. Didn't actually happen like that. They still had their funding board. But I do think that bronze, if it had been awarded at the time, would have been really, really helpful for British bobsleigh. Skeleton, as you say, I mean, a lot of pressure now on Matt and Marcus. They will be going into these games very much with the target on their back. Lots of people talking their chances up. Lots of people looking and saying and predicting that there could be 2 British men on the podium. It will be nice for the guys to do it, as you say, because you've got this rich heritage of the women coming through. You go back to Shelley Rudman, the last time the games were in Italy in 2006, of course. Also, Laura Dees, another one that we've spoken to on the podcast relatively recently, who's going to be out there commentating for the host broadcasters as well. So, brilliant heritage in women's skeleton. But I think for Marcus and Matt, really let down by the tech 4 years ago in Beijing. We can't underestimate how much that hurt and how much that they got it wrong in Beijing. And I think this time they are going into these games in a much, much different position and a much different frame of mind.
But as we know from UK Sport, when we heard and spoke to Dr. Kate Baker just a few episodes ago, and we saw this in Paris, converting the medals that we should win to win gold medals is the hardest thing in sport. And UK Sport know that they need to make sure that they carry on winning those gold medals. And I'm sure Matt and Marcus will be doing all they can to do that. But the reason we watch sport is it is unknown. If we knew what the results were going to be, we wouldn't be watching every time that someone gets to a race. So fingers crossed, as you say, for all of the British team in action, those 14 names with 14 days to go.
Hi, I'm Phoebe Becker.
I'm James Hernandez.
Team GB Figure Skaters.
You're listening to the latest on the Winter Olympics from
Anything But Footy.
Our latest news from the Games is coming up.
Michael Weddock's Winter Wonders.
This is Anything But Footy, the Olympic and Paralympic sport podcast. Now, I mentioned a couple of athletes were British, now competing for Jamaica. Well, Sheffield-born Olivia Smart will be carrying the Spanish flag at the opening ceremony of the Winter Games into the San Siro. The 28-year-old, who left Yorkshire to follow her ice dream in the States aged 14, will be competing with Tim Dieck for Spain in the ice stunts against the two British duos, Lila and Lewis, and James and Phoebe. Now, Smart became a Spanish citizen back in 2017, having previously ice danced for Great Britain in partnership with Joseph Buckland. That was between 2010 and 2015. You might remember she was also on Dancing on Ice with Niall Wilson, the Olympic medal-winning gymnast, back in 2023. So, yeah, we'll be catching up hopefully with a Spanish Olivia when we're out there.
Incredible. Swapping Sheffield for Spain. I think a few people might have done that in the past. Now, in other news from the Games, usually the big reveal at the opening ceremony, but details of the cauldron have been released early as building work starts in public places. Yes, for the very first time, the Olympic flame will burn in two locations during the 17 days of Milano Cortina 2026. Similar to Paris, the Milan cauldron will be in a park. It's called and situated on a statue. It's very similar to the Arc de Triomphe. This is called the Arc de la Paix, which means the Arch of Peace, and it is opposite the famous Milan castle. Now, a second flame will also be at the heart of Cortina de Penza in Piazza di Bona. So, the flames will also be smaller than usual, not because they're being split, but because of the sustainability target of the Games. IOC President Kirsty Coventry has been speaking this week. She can't wait to arrive in Milan next week for the 2026 Games and see that cauldron and the torch relay as well.
We're excited about, just like we spoke about with the opening ceremony and for all four villages being included and athletes being included. I mentioned right at the very beginning the excitement around the imagery that we're seeing around the Olympic torch relay. It was very emotional for me doing the first time of lighting of the flame in ancient Olympia and being able to be a part of the first part of the ceremony in Rome, and then watching along as it really goes around Italy. I think the thing to remember here is that the torch relay is about trying to include everyone from all walks of life, because that's really what the Olympic Games is about.
We've had some details about the opening ceremony as well in the San Siro Stadium. We're told it will be 2.5 hours long, so 3.5. Yes. The raising of the Italian and the Olympic flags will take place, as we know, and the lighting of the cauldrons will be mirrored across the different centres. So, as we've been saying there in Milan, in Cortina. Now, the creative lead is Marco Balic, who also did the 2006 Turin opening ceremony with Pavarotti, worked with Rio 2016 as well. Says they want a traditional opening ceremony going back to fundamentals. So we've got 1,200 volunteers. We'll have costumes, we'll have choreography, we'll have music. It will be analog, not as much digital as previous games. Harmonia is the theme, or harmony. It's a combination, as the ceremony will be over those two main locations, but will also show Italy's true colours and message of Olympic truce, and the universal message of peace will be clear. You can tell I'm reading that from the press release, but that is what you generally get told about opening ceremonies at the Olympic Games, isn't it? Athletes, of course, they always say we're going to put them at the centre of the action too in the San Siro and Cortina. What they mean by that is they'll make them stand around for hours waiting to parade, and then we'll look at them all like performing whatever's that they are.
They're not on a boat, which was what we saw in Paris.
No, and we've had the boat conversation before. I wonder whether being on the boat was preferable to being stuck in a sports hall for 4 hours watching it on a screen before you got your moment to parade through. Who knows? We do know that Andrea Bocelli, Mariah Carey are two of the confirmed acts. Now, Carey's been called the international guest. I've never heard that before.
That's what he said. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never heard that. That's not a thing that I know about with an opening ceremony. But she is going to be singing in Italian, apparently, which, according, and I'm going to read this again, will enchant us and be the cherry on the cake of the ceremony. Their words, not mine.
That is exactly what Marco said in the news conference. So yeah, it's good. Look, you love an opening ceremony, so it's going to be interesting to see. It looks like it's going back to basics. Now, a lot this is a quote as well. A lot of work has to be done at both the Cortina Sliding Centre for all those British athletes that we've talked about today with the skeleton and bobsleigh, and also the Santa Giulia Ice Hockey Arena in Milan, including the locker rooms need to be finished. This has been the admission from the IOC at a media briefing this week that I was on. Only finishing touches, though, we're told, and all will be ready, which is a statement I've been telling everybody for the last few weeks as well. But that is officially now from the IOC Executive Sports Director, Christophe Duby. He says 1,600 workers are there daily in Milan, sorting out that ice hockey arena, and the quality of the ice has also been approved by the NHL as well, which was a concern.
It will all be ready. Believe me. Been quite a week on the world diplomacy front, or lack of it, shall we say. Olympics President, IOC President Kirsty Coventry has confirmed that the International Olympic Committee has had no conversations with the White House directly ahead of their hosting of the Games in LA in 2028, the summer edition, and admits there's a reason she's not as close as football FIFA president Gianni Infantino.
He's got his FIFA World Cup in just a couple of months. So if we weren't seeing that good relationship, I'd be a little worried, right? And hopefully, as we get closer to the games, we will see relations continuing as they have been with the IOC, with the Olympic movement, in the United States, only getting stronger.
Kirsty Coventry did say that she's looking forward to meeting Donald Trump's team, who will be in Italy for the Games, including leading their delegation, we're told, their Vice President, J.D. Vance.
Yeah, could be quite a lot of diplomacy taking place at the Olympics. But of course, sport and politics don't mix, Michael, do they? That's what we always get told. We all wait and see whether that is the case in Milan. So look, it's been a busy few days. We've got more announcements to come. Keep with us, follow us, download us, listen to us. Follow us on social media, all the usual places you can track down anything but footy on Threads, on Facebook, on Instagram. Look out for the fixture list that's on our website. We have added those new songs to the Spotify Olympics music playlist. Mariah Carey Emotions will get you in the mood. She's not going to be singing that one, but they will get you in the mood for the opening ceremony, which is now, as we said, with 14 new Team GB athletes named, 14 days to go. Stay with us. This is Anything But Footy. We're moving on to Milan and looking ahead to LA.
I'm Elias Smading, Team GB long track speed skater. You're listening to the latest on the Winter Olympics from Anything But Footy.